Hello, guys, and welcome. Welcome to yours and mine, Cozy Corner. My name is Amanda, and on this channel, we talk about books, and more books. Well, hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to September 2025 monthly wrap up. So, this month, I believe I read one, two, three, four, five books. So, you guys know I have my notes. I'm not going to keep you waiting. Let's jump into this. So, the first book that I have is Gods of Jade and Shadow by, and forgive me if I mess her name up, but Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a fantasy historical fiction romance. Now, in this book, we're introduced to the main character, and I know I'm going to mess her name up, but it's Cassiopeia, and she lives with her wealthy grandfather, her mother, and some extended family members. Now, both her and her mother are treated pretty horribly. And the reason they're treated like that is because Cassiopeia's father was an indigenous man who the family kind of felt was beneath them. And unfortunately for her, her father dies, and her mother, they don't have enough resources to go and live by themselves. So they end up having to go to her grandfather. And he basically treats her like a slave. It kind of reminds me of the Cinderella story, the Disney Cinderella story. So, anyway, one day the family was going on a trip, and of course, they did not take her with them, and they left her home. She's cleaning the floors in her grandfather's room, and she discovers this wooden box. So, she opens the box and accidentally frees the spirit of the Mayan god of death. He then asks her to help him recover his throne from his brother. So they go on this cross country journey from Yucatan to Mexico City to the Mayan underworld. Now, overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good book. Honestly, though, I can't say who I would recommend this book to. I hate to say this because it sounds bad, but honestly, the book is easily forgettable, even though it was good. And because I found myself putting the book down and I was in absolutely no rush to pick it back up. Now, if I'm reading a book or listening to a book and I find myself zoning out, I tend to like to go back and let me, go back a couple of pages and see what I missed. But honestly, with this book, I didn't. I just really wanted to finish it. And it sounds bad, but at the same time, it was a good book. It was just a little boring. It was good, but just a little boring to me. Now, the book was also a little slow, and I felt unnecessarily long, and there was minimal action. Now, at first, I was okay with this because I thought, okay, I'm gonna have this big payoff at the end of the book, and turned out I didn't. So I didn't really like the ending. Now, this could be partially my fault as well because I thought the book was going to end one way and it didn't. And I try not to do that. I try to just go with the flow of the book, see where it takes me. But in this case, I thought I really knew and I didn't. Now, some of the things that I did enjoy about this book was so I'm not familiar with Mexican folklore, but this book had that in it along with magical realism and mythical figures, and I thought that was quite enjoyable. Now, I also enjoyed the fact that there was like character development. We really got to see the main female character, Cassiopeia. Again, I know I'm saying her name wrong. I really enjoyed her because she's a very strong-willed young lady. She held her ground, even though she had really, I don't want to say she didn't have any power. She had little power, but not traditional power, but she still stood her ground. So I really admired her for that. Now, on the other hand, I could not stand her cousin Martin, and Lord knows I could not stand her grandfather. They both were serious jerks. But anyway, um, I also enjoyed that there was a little romance in the book, but no spice at all. So again, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because the author is an excellent writer. It just wasn't, quite the book for me. And again, I don't really know who I would recommend this book to, but it was good. Okay, so the next book I read is also by the same author, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and that is the book of The Daughter of Dr. Monroe. This is a historical fiction fantasy retelling. Now, this is a retelling of the novel The Island of Dr. Monroe. Never read that book. So this particular book is set in it's set in 19th century Mexico, and it's basically this creation of hybrids, which are part animals, part human, and everything is going fine until one day the son of Dr. Monroe's patron shows up unannounced and starts a dangerous chain of reaction. Now, there isn't a ton of characters in the book, so it is easy to kind of keep up with who's who. And one of the characters that I did enjoy is Montgomery Lofton. He was this alcoholic overseer, and I think I enjoy him the most because with him, what you see is what you get. And he didn't pretend to be anyone other than himself, and it's just refreshing to have someone like that. Now, Dr. Moreau's daughter, I did like her. Whew, however, she was a bit naive and she got on my nerves a lot of the time, and I try to be understanding based upon her upbringing, but sometimes I just wanted to shake the girl. I just want to give her a good shaking. But I still liked her though. Now I was disappointed when it came to the when it came to learning about the hybrids because I thought that there was going to be like more detail on how they were made, what they could do. I thought it just would be a bigger payoff with them in the story, but it wasn't. And maybe that's because it's being true to the original story and that's not what it was about. I don't know, but I just think I would have enjoyed the book better if that were the case. Now, I also thought this book was a little bit too long, but at least I enjoyed the ending. So it was worth the read to me. Now, the author also, and this she does this in many of her books, she doesn't shy away from topics like colorism, racism, and colonial forced labor. And that is throughout this book as well. She is truly an excellent writer, and I enjoy her books. So overall, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so next we have Deep End by Allie Hazelwood. This is a contemporary sports romance. Now, this is my first book by Allie Hazelwood, and I have to give you a little background story. First, I will say going in blind sometimes is a good thing. That's what happened with me in this book. I went in blind. But anyway, I went to my local library to pick up a book that was supposed to be on hold for me. Once I got to the library, they couldn't find the book. And so the librarians kind of was going back and forth with one another. So while they were in the midst working through that and hopefully was going to find my book, I decided to walk around, and as I was doing so, I saw this book. And I thought, oh my God, the cover is so beautiful. And I remember seeing a lot of the YouTubers that I watch talking about this book. But I didn't put this book on my TBR list. So the fact that I didn't put it on my TBR list, but I know that I've seen that cover several times, really told me that, okay, it must be something about this book that, you don't really like because you would have added it to your forever growing TBR list. And I didn't. But the librarians going back and forth with one another. This particular location that I drove to was like 35, 40 minutes from my house. So I'm like, I am not leaving here without a book. And it was getting closer to the closing time of the library. So I'm like, I'm just gonna pick this book up, and I'm not leaving here without a book. So anyway, I picked the book up, got home, and once I got into the book, I realized why this book was not on my TBR list. So this book is this book is about BDSM, okay? It's very spicy, or at least I consider it to be very spicy. Someone who doesn't normally read spicy books. And so I had an issue with that. And I also had an issue with the characters. Now, the main characters were grown. Everyone in the book, from my understanding, was 21 years or older. So everyone is technically grown. However, to me, if you're going to have spiciness like that, my preference is for them to be super grown, not 21 years old, or 20-year old. I didn't like that. And I found it really hard to believe that the main character, the main male character, we're supposed to believe that he has all of this experience in this area, and he's only 21. Now, he's been dating a young lady in the book for like 7 years, and apparently half the time, nothing kind of happened between them or whatever. So anyway, the point is, if you're 21 and you're supposed to be this expert, when did you become an expert? As a child? I mean, that's gross. So I kind of struggled with that. Now, with all that being said, somehow Allie Hazelwood made me still enjoy the book. I don't know what kind of witchcraft she has going on, but I still was able to enjoy the book. But I can definitely see how people dislike this book. And people say they dislike it, I can very well understand how they dislike this book. Now, I did enjoy the fact that even though it was way, way spicier than I would have liked, it wasn't spice every other page. We actually did have a plot. Okay. So that part I could enjoy. And I enjoyed that they were intelligent because they are college students. So I enjoyed that they were intelligent students, and the main characters, one was a diver, one was a swimmer. I learned some things about them and the differences between the two, and I like their personality as well. So I did overall enjoy the book. Now, I will say the book comes with triggers. Please read the triggers. I mean, I'm not a person that is triggered by stuff. I can still read it, but I think if you are triggered by XYZ, please read that. And again, as I always say, check all the triggers in any books that you hear me talk about if you decide to pick them up. So anyway, overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5, which I am completely shocked that I did, because for me to have taken up so many issues with this book, it's like, well, how can I give it a 4 out of 5? My rating system, I go back and forth with that thing. A 5, I don't expect for the book to be perfect, but perfect enough for me. A 3 is more so, it was good, it was okay, not a bad book. A 4, in this case, the reason I didn't give this book a 3 is because I felt that it was better than okay, and I am willing to read the book again. If I give a book a 3 out of 5, then the chances of me rereading that book is slim to none. So anyway, thanks. Okay, so the last books that I read is The Coven and the Curse by Harper L. Woods. This is part of the Coven of Bone series. Now, when I talk about a series and I'm talking about a book that is not a standalone, I'll talk about the first book and I won't say much about the books after that because I don't want to ruin it. And if I keep talking, Lord knows I probably will throw some spoilers in there by accident. So, with that being said, overall, I gave book 1 and 2 of this Coven of Bone series a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, there is a third book that is expected to come out around October the 7th, which I didn't know when I read the first two that this would be coming out. And this book is one of those books that got me again by the cover. The cover of the book does make a difference, and I should have. Um, well, actually, I don't think I really could have did any more research because I did do the synopsis on. I read the synopsis on this book, and I still didn't see, what was coming. I didn't see it coming. So anyway, at first, I really didn't know what to do with this book because I thought the main female character, and I believe her name was Willow, I thought she was 16. If she was 16, I was going to throw the whole darn book out. And no, it wasn't my book. I got it from the library, but I was going to throw the whole darn book out if she was 16 years old. So I had to stop reading, do some research. And after my research, I found out that she was in her early 20s. Again, for me, I don't like super spicy books, and I don't like super spicy books that have young characters. And to me, if you're 20, 21, for me, you're too young to have that much spice happening. I don't like that. But anyway, I feel the spice level was a 5 out of 5. And I felt like the spice was on every single page, it felt like. It's like, where is the plot of the book? Because the plot was actually good when it showed up, but most of the time it's just spice, spice, spice. So that I didn't like. But removing that spice or toning it down, like you don't like. I'm not such a prude that you have to take all the spice out the book, but I mean, just if it was toned down a little bit more, to me, I felt it would have been just a great book. And of course, I'm talking about both of them. But anyway, with that being said, please, please, please read the triggers in this book. This book, I kind of giggled, not giggle at the triggers, but giggle like, oh my God, how many triggers are listed in this book? But no, everything because at first I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe they're just listening, listing all of those triggers just to kind of cover everything. No, no, no. They're listing all of those triggers because they all exist in there. So please take a look at that before reading the book. Now, this author, Harper L. Woods, she really did have me confused because, at part of the book I was enjoying, and then the other half I'm reading like, WTF with this book. Like I was kind of back and forth about how I felt about this book. So when it came to rating, I'm like, I don't really know what to give this book. Do I give it the 3 out of 5? Or do I think about mostly the plot that was good and I give it a 4 out of 5? I don't know. But anyway, like I said, this book does have a third book that's coming out. I do plan on reading it, even though I took up some issues with it. That's mostly because, I'm nosy. I like to finish reading a series and I don't want to have to go to war, with my OCD personality. so so I need to be able to finish reading this book. And if it focuses on the plot, where it left off and where I think it's going to go, I think it's going to be really good. However, based on the first two books, I know I'm going to just have to deal with the spice. And like I said, hopefully more of the plot will be in there. So we'll see. So anyway, guys, that is my September 2025 reading wrap up. Hope that, maybe one of those books would interest you. If so, please put it in the comments. Let me know which one you enjoy or that you think that you may enjoy. If you could, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.